What's up everybody, my name is Lili Thompson and welcome to my channel. And today, I want to give you guys the ultimate guide to house hacking in 2020. Now, here's the full honest truth. I'm not a real estate guru. I'm just a normal 24-year-old who's getting started with real estate investing. But I am in the process of house hacking my very first investment right now. In fact, by the time you guys see this video, I may have already closed and gotten the keys. So this isn't going to be that video from the investor who's been doing it for 30 years and is giving you that perspective. But what it is a true, honest, nitty-gritty look at exactly what the process is going to be like your very first time, because that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you're new here, please take a moment to like and subscribe. And I hope you enjoy this look into exactly what it's like to house hack your very first investment property. Okay, first things first, what is house hacking? House hacking is when you buy a 1, 2, 3, or 4 unit building, you live in one of the rooms or units, and you rent out the others. The rental income that you get from your roommates or your tenants pays for a portion or all of your mortgage and possibly pays for all of that plus your expenses and leaves money in your pocket at the end of the day. I know it sounds unreal, but it's true. You can live for free or get paid to live in a property that you own. For most of us that are just getting started in real estate investing, where we're living right now isn't a place we own, but it's a place that we're renting. And for most of us, that rent is the biggest expense that we have. Out of the money that we're spending every single month, the largest portion of it is likely our rent payment. So house hacking is a great way to eliminate or reduce your housing expense, as well as get you started investing using leverage, which we'll talk about in a moment. And so if this is going to be a true ultimate guide to buying your first investment property, the first thing that most people are going to want to talk about is credit. Your credit score is basically a number that tells a bank how trustworthy you are with their money. Can they trust you to pay it back? Credit scores range from anywhere between 300 and 850, and as you can see, very poor is around the 300 to 580 range, and it goes up to there, getting very good at the 740 range. But there's a misconception out there about just how good your credit has to be to invest in real estate. There are many types of loans that you might get from a bank when you go to house hack, but let's talk about the main two. There's an FHA loan, which is from the Federal Housing Administration and is used for people who are buying properties that they are going to live in, so house hacking, and a conventional loan that can be used for a property whether you're going to live in it or use it as an investment. As you can see, the minimum credit score for someone who's house hacking and using an FHA loan is 500, which actually falls into the very poor range, versus someone who's using a conventional loan, they have to have a credit score of 620. And so right off the bat, you can see that in order to house hack, you can actually have what's qualified as a very poor credit score. In fact, you can use an FHA loan not only on a single family home, but on a duplex, triplex, or a fourplex. So you can own up to 4 units, live in one of them, rent out the others, and cover your mortgage payment. After credit, the second thing that most people want to talk about is how to get your cash. If you were to take a survey and ask people how much money do you need to buy a house, most of them would tell you 20%. And everyone who said that would be wrong. There are loan programs out there that have all different types of required down payments. For example, if you're a veteran or you live in a rural area, you can actually get a 0% down home loan. Now, let's go back to our FHA loan because that's what most house hackers will use. The FHA loan only requires you to put down 3.5%. The conventional loan says 3+%, and that can range anywhere between 3 and 25%. But what this chart doesn't tell you is that the lower your credit score is when you use a conventional loan, the more money that's required for a down payment. Whereas when you do an FHA loan, you can have as low as a 500 credit score and still put down only 3.5%. And the second piece of the equation that no one is talking about is down payment assistance. There are over 2,500 government and private programs across the country that will give you the 3.5% you need to buy your house hack. Yes, they'll give it to you, not a loan, but a gift. This is exactly what I'm doing right now to buy a duplex in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There are different requirements for down payment assistance in every state, but in Oklahoma, if you're using an FHA loan, you can get a 3.5% gift on any property that is either a single family or a duplex. Some states will even let you get that 3.5% gift on 4 units plus a storefront. It just depends for your state. I'm gonna put a link in the description below and it'll take you to an article that lists all 50 states and what down payment assistance programs are available to you. In that article, you're going to see a study from the Urban Institute that found between 22 and 51% of people who live in urban areas are eligible for down payment assistance. And they could get anywhere between $2,000 and $39,000. It all just depends on the cost of the house you buy. So even if you're living in a state where the home prices are super expensive, you could still get the entire 3.5% down payment that's required to buy that house gifted to you by a government or private program. There are 38 such programs here in Oklahoma. There's 45 in Arizona, 90 in Colorado, and even for a super expensive state like California, there are 357 down payment assistance programs. Okay, I know I hit that one over the head pretty hard, but it just frustrates me to no end that you can comb through all of these podcasts, all of these videos on YouTube about real estate, and while they're so good, sometimes the experts have already done so much, they have so much money in their bank account that they forget to tell you about down payment assistance. Now, does this mean that you should go buy a house using an FHA loan, get down payment assistance when you have zero money? No, if you have like $0 in your bank account, you're probably not going to be able to qualify for the loan anyway. But you don't need as much money as you think. For the duplex that I'm buying right now, I decided that while I would purchase the property using that down payment assistance, I would have in cash in my bank account 4 months worth of mortgage payments just in case. There are going to be expenses that come up when you own a house. There are going to be months where maybe your roommates aren't living there or the other units are vacant, and you want to be able to cover those things. You want to be an intelligent investor who has money in their bank account, but can also use the leverage that you can get by getting free money from down payment assistance programs. Step 3 to house hacking is to know the rules. When you go get an FHA loan, the agreement you're making with the government is that you intend to live in that house for at least a year, which is cool because everybody has to live somewhere, so why not live in a house that you own? Maybe where you're working and living right now is not where you want to end up in the future, and that's fine. That doesn't mean that you can't still invest. If you buy a house hack and you get a new job in a new city before that 1 year is up, that's cool. You can move. It's all about just having the intention to live in that property, which you do because you don't want to pay rent to someone. You want to pay rent to yourself or live for free. And besides, let's say you built up your real estate knowledge, you bought a 3 or a 4 unit property intelligently, you're living in one of the units, rent out the other 3. When it's time for you to move on and live somewhere else, that's actually going to be more beneficial for you because you can put a new renter in the unit that you were living and get even more cash flow every single month. Speaking of cash flow, let's go ahead and talk about some numbers. Step number 4, pick your strategy. There are many strategies that you can use when house hacking, and one of them is to get a single family home. So let's say you find a 3-bedroom home for $100,000. And it's okay if $100,000 isn't how much 3-bedroom homes cost in your town because the math will work whether the numbers are lower or higher. All right, stick with me. So if you get this house for $100,000 at a 4% interest rate for 30 years, that's going to put your monthly payment, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance somewhere around $750 and $800. You're living in one of the rooms and you're renting out the other 2 rooms for, let's call it $600 a month, which means you're getting $1,200 every month to cover a payment that you have to make to the bank that is $800. And because you're a savvy real estate investor and you've done your research, you know that there are costs associated with owning a home. And so you're going to set aside $200 every month to put into a separate bank account just in case you have to fix something in the house or one of your roommates moves out. This leaves you with $200 in your pocket every single month for owning a home that your roommates are paying down the loan for and paying you $200 to live there. Now, another strategy you can employ is to go for a multifamily residence. That means 1, 2, 3, or 4 units. I know this picture has 5 windows, but let's just imagine the downstairs is very big. You live there, you've got 2 windows, all right? Let's say this 4-unit property is worth $300,000. And again, if the cost to buy a home in your area is higher than this, that's okay because oftentimes the rents in your area will also be higher to compensate the higher housing prices. That's going to put your monthly principal, interest, taxes, and insurance payment around $1,800 to $1,900 a month. Let's say you can rent out the other units for $1,000 each, which means you've got $3,000 coming in every single month. $1,900 goes towards your payment, and because you're a savvy real estate investor, you're still going to set aside $200 a month per unit that you own, leaving you with $500 in your pocket every month, as well as your tenants paying down the loan for you. The magic of real estate. Once you've picked your strategy, it's time for step 5, finding your team. The first person you want to get on your team is a good real estate agent. There are a ton of resources out there that will help you find a good real estate agent, but make sure you find one who understands house hacking and can help you with your strategy. Remember, a real estate agent is free for you, the buyer. The seller of the home will pay their agent 3% and your agent 3% for helping you all get the deal closed. One key thing that you must do when you get a real estate agent, the very first time you talk to them, is to have them sign you up for automatic email alerts. Real estate agents have access to the MLS. You have access to websites like Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com, but a real estate agent can give you access directly to the MLS by putting you on automatic email alerts. For example, you can tell your real estate agent that you want to be sent an alert for any home in your area that's 3 or 4 units and is under a certain purchase price. That way, you're one of the first people in your town to know exactly when that deal comes on the market and you can jump on it quickly. The second person you want to get is a loan officer. I recommend you go to a local community bank, you sit down with a loan officer, and again, you tell them your strategy. They're going to ask you about your credit. Remember, it only needs to be $500 for an FHA loan. They're going to ask you about your income and different things about your financial background. They do this in order to give you a pre-approval letter. That pre-approval letter will tell you how much money the bank is willing to lend you. Which you need to know so you can tell your real estate agent what price to cap your alerts at. You don't want to be getting sent alerts for $1.5 million homes if the bank says that they will loan you up to $300,000. Pre-approval letters give you confidence to know exactly how much home you can afford, letting you know which homes you can offer on and which ones you cannot. There are 2 bonus people that you also might want to get on your team, and that's a general contractor and a property manager. But we'll talk about those in the next step. Step 6. Analyze deals. There are a couple of things you need to know about every property in order to know if it's going to be a good deal. Something you should do right now, and I do mean right now, like pause this video right now and download a mortgage calculator onto your phone. That way, when you see the purchase price for a property, you can put that price into the mortgage calculator and it'll spit out what your monthly payment is likely to be. The second thing you need to know is how much rehab is needed on this property. And that's why you want to get a good general contractor. You don't want to trust that the seller says, oh, this house is perfect, there's nothing wrong with it, it's ready to go. There may need to be some rehab that's needed on the house, and you want to know that because most times that money is going to have to come out of your pocket. A general contractor will oftentimes walk through a property with you and your real estate agent for free and give you an estimate of how much money they think it would cost to get that home ready to live in. You can find good contractors on websites like Bigger Pockets or Home Advisor. You can go to Home Depot and Lowe's and talk to all of the contractors are there. Or another tip is to drive around your town, and when you see a work site, get out of your car and go introduce yourself. It's a great way to find a contractor. After you've put the purchase price in your mortgage calculator, you know about what your monthly payment will be. You've got an estimate for how much rehab might be needed for this house. The third thing you're going to want to do is figure out how much monthly income you can bring in for renting out either the rooms or the units that are on your property. There's a really good website called Rentometer that I'll put a link to in the description below, and you can type in an address and figure out what the rents are for similar homes in that area. Another great way to see what rent in that area might be is to just go on Zillow or Realtor.com and see what properties that are similar to the one you're looking at are already renting for. The last thing you want to figure out is about how much the utilities will be for that property. You can always ask the seller what is a typical electric or gas bill and how they handle water and trash in your particular city. Another thing you can do is to get on the phone with a property manager and ask them, again, for free, what typical utilities are for the area you're looking in. Once you've analyzed a bunch of deals, it's time for step number 7, making your offer. Your real estate agent will write up the offer with your purchase price and the terms that you want the seller to agree to, and they'll send it to them. If they agree, you'll both sign the contract and you'll send in what's called earnest money. Earnest money is usually 1 to 3% of the purchase price that you will give to a third party, either a title company or a lawyer, depending on the state that you live in. And it basically says, hey, I'm signing this contract. I'm serious about buying this property. Here's 1 to 3% of the purchase price to prove it. Step number 8, do your due diligence. This is oftentimes a 10-day period, but it can be different for you and your state or what you agree with your particular seller. But in that due diligence time period, it's time for you to get a home inspection and make sure that you really want to buy this property. If you decide for some reason during that due diligence period that you don't want to buy the property, you can cancel the contract and get your earnest money back. If you decide that you want to move forward with the property, it's time for step number 9. You get to close on the deal. When the day comes for your closing, you'll sit down at either the title company or the lawyer's office and sign all of the final paperwork to transfer the ownership of that property into your name. This is also where, if you're using a down payment assistance program, the money for your down payment will be sent in to close the deal. An expense that you might have are closing costs. Closing costs are usually 2 to 5% of the purchase price, and these are costs that the bank charges basically to do this deal for you. One beginner tip on closing costs, though, is that you can ask the seller to pay a portion or all of the closing costs for you. Everything's negotiable in a real estate deal, and that's one of the things that you can ask for in your contract. And the final step to owning your first house hack is to find tenants. Maybe you're in college and you're gonna rent out to some of your friends and they'll be your roommates. Other ways to find tenants are to use websites like Craigslist or Zillow. You can also get a property manager who will find a tenant for you, but they will charge a fee for that. Or you can just buy a for rent sign from Home Depot and put it in the front of your yard. But whatever strategy you use to find a tenant, I recommend that you get professional pictures taken of the outside and inside of the house so that your listing stands out from other ones that are out there. If you made it this far in the video, congratulations. You now know the 10 steps to investing in your first house hack in 2020. If you enjoyed this video, let me know with a comment or by subscribing. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys in the comments.